Okay, you could hear some lingering in the DRX chants there, trying to make their voices known to their team so they can have a better performance here in game number 2. See whether it is actually going to be enough to do so.
Yeah, I think they certainly will have a better performance than in game 1 because the bar is very low.
Yeah, it is definitely low.
Yeah. Well, that's the positive you can take away from this one, that it would struggle to be worse than game 1. But still, as we said, I think there's a lot of draft elements that are better here for DRX. A lot more agency in the mid-game and potential to at least try and make things happen. I think ultimately top lane, there's not a ton you can do as Aatrox against TF unless TF makes mistakes or you find a good angle. Mid lane, I hope to see Yahoo, who has been a good addition to this roster. I hope to see him make his impact known on the map. If you're into a Corki, you definitely should. Bot lane's a big question mark for me because we've seen lanes like Aphelios, Lulu really bully out in the 2v2, and when it's Guma carrier, it's intimidating to go up against. So it's something we've talked about with DRX, is that bot lane has kind of been the strongest point over the course of the split. They really need to be in this one.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Teddy and Pleta do have at least one win on the Lucian Nami, as Pleta is making me feel silly for saying so, as he's taking a lot of damage. Carrier playing so far forward here, throwing these glitter lances out, getting picks involved. As Ebb and Flow going to try and even this one out just a little bit. Just a lot of fighting. Yeah, a lot of clean advantages being gleaned.
We actually saw Lulu buff, so like hit Q, if both bolts hit, there's like more damage. Because it used to be the second bolt had like heavily reduced damage. It's still reduced, but not by as much. Like more shielding and damage on an E and things like that. So actually this has gone very well for DRX. T1 kind of overstepped with the trades, didn't focus down the minions, and as a result, it's DRX to get level 2 first.
Oh, Sponge also wrapping around as well as Gumayushi is stepping out into the lane. This could be an opportunity for the Rel to really try and create an advantage for the bottom lane.
Flip the entire game on a level 3 dive.
Yeah, and Teddy, see, trying to make this one happen. There is the crash down on top of Gumayushi, who does eventually flash. That is going to keep him alive, as now Owner is making his way in, and Sponge is extraordinarily low. The Bramble Smash does push him away, but they're looking to turn it. Flash out from Owner is Teddy. Oh, he doesn't find the double tap, and there's the flash out from Carrier. Everyone is so incredibly low, as Pleta, he really wants to do it, but it's just not going to happen. Look at this, sub 100 health for both of these bottom laners, and Owner can't do anything about it because he's also excruciatingly low. Yep, the Hex Flash over as Sponge makes his way in. There it is! The crash down to interrupt it as well, but Teddy is also going to die. So it's a 1-for-1, and First Blood does go over to DRX. There is that. But T1 get one back, and so it's not the end of the world.
That was on the cusp of being so fantastic for DRX, but a couple of moments that went in favor of T1, and suddenly it's a 1-for-1, and it is the Rel who gets the First Blood, unfortunately.
Faker doesn't lose on Corki, by the way, guys.
A lot of winning.
Yep. Spectacular amounts of winning. Let's go back to this one once again, as I feel like, yeah, Sponge went down extraordinarily low at the beginning. I did really like how they played it early on.
Yeah, you know, they get the sums from Guma, get a lot of damage down into him. And then here, Owner just doesn't have the damage, and Guma and Carrier are on there to support. But unfortunately here, just doesn't get the double tap on Owner. Not sure if he lost vision when he stepped in the brush.
How did he die? Let's, I'm going to keep my eye on Teddy here.
Oh, he took aggro.
Right.
Yeah, he was the one who took aggro. So he started the trade on Guma, but didn't quite have the damage. So Sponge finished him with a Q. And Teddy... The thing is, I think if they'd approached it with the mindset of Sponge getting aggro, maybe Teddy just cleans up both Guma and Carrier.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Obviously didn't plan out that way.
Oh, more Hex Flash value. Here we go, Sponge, start charging it up as Jonas Strong turns it off, and there we go, the crash down on top of him, straight into the bubble, and Teddy, he's going to be able to pick up the kill this time around.
This is what I'm talking about, you know, a good return gank, you know, all the summoners are down, DRX actually making things happen. Crazy how the game plays out when you don't pick Zyracon.
That is, in fact, the takeaway. Absolutely brilliant. And that's like, I think it's also brilliant because now I feel like Lucian is a great pick because it's better than Zyracon. So there we go.
That's the selling point for Lucian.
Some
it's
Lucian
not worse than Zyracon.
Precisely.
I do feel like, to be fair, today we've had some pretty solid Lucian games. Definitely a finesse pick, and you know, it's a good advantage for DRX obtained here. The wave being so big, T1 don't expect to be aggressed on, but the CC layering solid. You know, good start. Whether they can transition this Lucian from this point into a win is a big question, but this is definitely the direction you want the game to be going in.
Yep, precisely. Good start. You can see towards the top side of the map, Zeus is making a lot of money. That's why you see T1 with still a gold advantage. Sponge, though, going to be able to utilize the Rel in order to take a Void Bub. Full information over to T1, as you can see, with a ward in the pit, but not going to be able to do anything about it. And you've got Ono moving towards the bottom side. He may actually just start off this Hex Tech Drake, as we do have a Chem Tech for today's Soul in this particular game, as Faker not going to find that rocket there, as now Sponge continuing his rampage on the Rift. Going to get a Valkyrie out. And T1 actually going to back away from this, not wanting to do this Drake with Sponge in the area. He's just too scary. Yep,
I mean, he has so much potential to steal it on the Rel. Also, just Corki being so weak at this point in the game. And for DRX, this is huge. Giving Dragons over to a Corki team early, when you know later on the package is going to be there, is really painful. So I'm glad he moved down to interrupt that. And T1 are respectful and don't overcommit for it.
Yep. Not going to be the Drake picked up for DRX or anything like that. Sponge could now possibly look at that as an opportunity, but you can see Ono still in the area, and there are full camps available towards the top side of the map for Sponge. So actually probably wanting to go over there, lock those down, but he's been spending so much time in this bottom lane, hasn't been able to take it, as Faker. Some damage onto Yehu here, but he's happily soaking that one up. Bubble going to connect, actually, as Teddy dashes in. Tycho's blessing, a lot of extra damage as he is turned into a critter, that polymorph, but a little bit late. Damage had kind of been done still. Going to lose out on the trade.
They get the barrier from Guma, so I think DRX are fine with that. They'll be able to sustain back up with Plata's healing. But that health is still low now, and they are doing the Dragon. Sponge should just be able to secure this.
Yep. Shattering Strike comes in. That's going to lock that one down. So Ona in position. Doesn't actually do too much about it, as Yehu, really good trade onto Faker here, landing the charm. As we check in on the top lane, Rascal having a rough one. As we know, we'll be able to pick up this wave and should equalize somewhat as far as farm is concerned. So it should only be 10 behind or something like that. And in a matchup into the Twisted Fate that is so incredibly lane dominant, especially in the early stages against melee champions, it's not the end of the world here for DRX on the top side.
Yeah, I mean, the expectation is going to fall behind. We do see the Comet, which is a typical take for Aatrox. We saw this originally when it was like Aatrox Gnar meta.
Yep.
But just if you're able to land those combos, get a Q in, you can a sweet spot can result in the Comet damage. But ultimately, it looks like Rascal hasn't really found any window for good trades. So Zeus played it pretty well. And he's the only one in the game with a lead as a result. Obviously, he does cheat, so he has extra gold as a result.
Bit of added money for the Twisted Fate, but still, DRX definitely just looking so much better than the previous game. Maybe this is that happy game you were talking about. Maybe this is the opportunity for T1, and I kind of hope that it isn't, because I really do like undefeated streaks. Remember, it was very sad when Faker's LeBlanc finally lost. Took a while for that to happen.
But it was pretty hype.
It was definitely hype in a Game 5 at MSI the very first time of that tournament.
Perhaps we can save the hype of the Corki loss for, you know, maybe like a big playoff game.
Yeah, there is an MSI coming up, so we could utilize that one. But it might happen just here, but Gumushi is going to try and stop that, as the heal does have to be utilized. You mentioned the barrier from earlier. That is on cooldown, but actually an even trade in the end, as Teddy just trades for the culling.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, Tidal Wave actually going to be utilized here, as Carrier is in so much trouble. Piercing Light comes down. That is going to be Teddy locking down the kill onto the Lulu, and no rel required for that one, really.
Yep. And it was so clear that everyone watching and Carrier knew that he was dead in that situation. Doesn't burn flash, doesn't burn ult, saves all his cooldowns, accepting the fate. So when he does return, which is pretty fast, he's already running back over with the Home Guard buff. He'll still have all cooldowns if a skirmish does break out. Guma's so low already.
Yeah, you can see Teddy throwing so much damage down into this Aphelios. And Sponge and Ono doing battle. Sponge, of course, knows that he has the backup from the rest of his team, as Carrier does make his way down here. So Wild Growth now at the ready, as Ono going to be slowed down.
Yeah, and you don't want to get baited in here. Wild Growth and barrier back off cooldown.
And Crescendum as well.
Yeah, definitely better that they just apply the pressure and don't look to capitalize more of it. It is already the Shiv Lucian, so much pushing power in this lane. And the thing is, if Guma's on a tower this low, like, you're just getting chipped down by the static Shiv. Of course, they are going to go for a reset now.
Yep.
Pleda not quite able to afford the mandate, unfortunately.
Not quite there just yet. That is pretty close as the chains come on through. And Rascal not going to be able to find too much more. So Zeus underneath his turret for now, so you can see that Rascal has been able to get a little bit back as far as any form of control. As Faker has opted in for the Hex Drinker, which we have seen more and more of, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I think before, because of the Malignant Eclipse interaction, you were so set in those 3 items that people weren't going Hex Drinker. Oh,
this is pretty nice. Sweet Spot does come on through there onto Zeus still. Quite enough in the tank to really threaten a kill or anything like that, but it does look like Rascal's having a better time now.
Yeah, finally found that good trade. But yeah, as I was saying, back then it was like the Hex Drink delay was pretty significant, but now that 3-item spike isn't the same, so you can just build more third, and it's kind of doing a similar job to the Eclipse, where it just gives you a ton of AD. You know, the interaction between Malignance and Eclipse is gone, and as a result isn't as big of a deal.
Yep. Destiny going to be used to gate Zeus towards that top lane. Doesn't have teleport, so he has to use his ult. And now has his static Shiv complete as well. Swifty Boots also done, so he can run around pretty quickly, get out of the Infernal Chains. And now we're going to check this one out one more time. Yeah, Carrier, like you mentioned, just kind of knew that he was dead.
Yep, and the ult obviously doesn't hit from Pleda, but it's a good one, completely splitting them, so Carrier had no choice but to walk downwards, which sealed his fate. And now the mandate's actually finished, so Pleda getting a recall in, specifically to pick it up there.
Yeah, so a lot of extra power, and already Teddy and Pleda were looking really good. As the Lucian Demption has been pretty ridiculous, as Zeus just stepping out of these sweet spots beautifully on the Twisted Fate. Not going to step out of that one as I say it, but that's a caster curse, and those are real. Jat reminded me of it earlier on today. As Ona sidestepping really nicely, crash down on top of him, but there's the charm to come on through from Yahoo. Ona did utilize the Twisted Fate, the Twisted Advance quite well, but now it's Sponge that's in trouble, and Faker, he delivers a package, has to flash out immediately, but the tidal wave not going to be enough there as the Maokai picks up the kill, and Teddy has to cleanse and flash to get himself the heck out of this one. Somehow T1 keep themselves alive.
Ends up being a huge misplay from DRX, just opting for the fight. Sponge misses the Q, still goes for the play anyway, but you're approaching such a dangerous position on the map, you know, going into that choke where you don't have vision as well. It was so easy for T1 to defensively fight from there, and then the package comes in as well.
And look at this, it's exactly as promised. Thank you so much. Chemtech Drake going to come on through for the soul.
I did say it.
Yep. That is now 1 apiece for both of these teams, so 3 Chemtechs available. And with Nami and Lulu, you know, there is a bit of extra value there, because we're going to check this fight out one more time. A bit of a mess here.
Yeah, I mean, the Q misses, they approach in, but from this position, it's so hard for DRX to approach. The ult catches both carries, and also Guma's like hitting from over the wall from complete safety, flashes in when all the cooldowns have been burned, and it's a fantastic charm from Yahoo, but it just doesn't matter.
No.
It just doesn't mean anything when you've already lost so much in this fight. And the frustrating thing is I actually think a skirmish in that 4v4 is winnable for DRX.
That's what their composition wants to do. It's 14 minutes into the game. Mandate was done. You've got the first item spike for Teddy. Doesn't get much better than this.
Just step 1, don't focus Maokai as your first target. Step 2, don't engage into a sort of choke where the enemy carries are so safe over the wall.
Yeah. And then don't get hit by every single button, and don't do it while Faker has package.
Yeah, a lot of ifs.
Yeah, there's a few things that you have to take into account, but once you do that, it should be all right.
That's just League of Legends, you know? You have to take a few things into account. Bish, bash, bosh, and you're good.
Yeah.
You know? But clearly slipped their mind a little bit.
The where good part didn't actually occur. That bit didn't work out. As at least Sponge going to be able to take the Rift Herald. We've seen so far today it's been, if you take the Rift Herald, oftentimes you lose the game. As Cannon secured by Rascal. Very nicely done.
Yeah, it definitely feels like Dragon, the higher priority objective. A lot of the time, the Herald, if you're behind, it's not even enough to break the mid-tier 1. Like, we know that Herald can have high value, and mid-tier 1's really important to try and defend, but so many times And I imagine that's the goal for T1 again this game, is that when the Herald gets slammed down, you manage to fight them off it. And yes, the mid tier 1 ends up lower, but it doesn't go down.
No. So Empowered back going to be utilized here from Sponge. Going to be able to go back home. Does have his Frozen Heart done. Null Magic Mantle now as well alongside it. And Teddy now just zapping minions here in this mid lane. Gumushi there with red-white guns at the ready.
I also love the redemption pickup from Carrier. When there's potential for a lot of poke from a pick like the Lucian, we saw earlier today aiming getting poked out by Viper's Lucian and lost him a dragon. Having the redemption, just being able to reset, super valuable. Also got on the Dreammaker. We've seen so many Lulus go the Solstice Slay, and I hate it, right? I just, like, you're not great at proccing it on Lulu.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to Glitter Lance them? I mean, you do have slows in your R and W, but, like, Dreammaker, getting the extra damage reduction, I think, has a lot more value.
Yep. And in fact, I think Carrier has gone for Dreammaker more than a lot of our other supports, if I remember correctly. All right, Ona is going to get a Magnet Storm out and is just going to take a massive amount of damage and die. Yeah, that's pretty good work here for DRX. Not a lot to fight for in the river towards its bottom side, so Ona probably just wasn't expecting the whole gang to be down here. Zeus finding a gold card onto Rascal.
Yeah, they catch him isolated, and also when...
Oh, not going to get the sweet spot on the second Q, and may just get autoed to death. There we go. Zeus going to lock that one up. That's a solo kill. As Charm, not going to be utilized, as Yehu didn't find the angle between the minions onto Gumushi. And we are going to see Rel charge the Rift Herald towards the inner turret, so that's a fair bit of Herald value, actually, as Teddy doing a lot of work onto Carrier as well.
I was pretty critical of the Herald usage we've had today, but that was a pretty good one. Managing to pick on Ona, paid off a lot. They do suffer on the top side in return, so this TF is becoming an issue, but
yeah,
still positive play for DRX.
Certainly is. And T1 only have a 300 gold lead at this stage of the game this time around, and last time it was about a 6,000 gold lead.
Yeah, just a great angle from Sponge. And the thing is, with the Knight's Vow rush we often see from tank junglers, a lot of your tankiness relies on someone dealing damage to give you the healing.
Yeah.
When you're isolating alone, you're not actually that tanky. And yeah, you know, Rascal's been trying to find these angles all game, but the Ghost is such a powerful tool in the 1v1 against the Aatrox.
And they're just barely out of range of these Qs.
Red
makes Rascal look a little bit silly.
Yep, and now, look at the TF items, by the way.
Whoa.
Yeah, quite a few picked up. You know, you actually see
pretty cheesy.
Teddy also has similar numbers of items, but this chef is definitely not something you want to go up against as Rascal.
No, absolutely
or
not.
Anyone.
Yeah, Sponge also not psyched about it, as we can see here. Demonstrated immediately afterwards. Really glad that you mentioned that, and then we did get the immediate response that, oh, also Sponge not happy about it. We'll have to check in on Yehu, Teddy, and Pleta to see whether they enjoy going up against the Twist of Fate, and we might get a bit of a look at that as the third dragon of the game has been started up.
T1 have the Banana Brush control.
Oh, that is imperative.
To start laying down poke from.
Well, we do have the Scryer's Bloom, but it's actually Zeus that takes that one away from Yehu, misses the charm. This has just been so incredibly swift. It's okay, there's the steal. Sponge likely to die, but he's done his job. And there we go, lockdown does come on through. Fans pretty psyched about how DRX are playing this one out, at least in the stealing dragons aspect. Faker with a package to deliver. But unfortunately, DRX just not home to really pick the... Oh, never mind. They're just in their summer home in the mid lane. And Rascal is going to suffer the wrath of the deliveries.
Yep, great move by T1. Able to turn that one around and get the mid lane tier 1 and also a kill there. Sponge trading life for the dragon is fine. I think you would feel a lot better if it was any other dragon, though, being honest.
But you're the whisperer of the Chemtech. Shouldn't you be the one that tells us that actually it's fine and it's a great dragon?
No, that's not.
Oh, that's not how that one works.
That's not how it works.
Little Snowman Teddy is immediately going to cleanse, actually, get out of that gold card. Cullen comes on through and does a lot of damage to Zeus here as they're still looking to chase after. There's the Flash Magnet Storm as Yehu is going to get immediately CC'd as he dives in. And now Sponge is in trouble. Gumushi has red-white, and that is a dangerous time. Teddy now below 100 health. As the Destiny does come on in, and Yehu, he's not going to survive. The Destiny doesn't really do too much as far as gate value, but still T1 going to move towards the Baron, as they love to do at 20 minutes into the game.
Yeah, I mean, the fact they only got one kill isn't really the difference maker, but the fact everyone is chunked out, you know, there's an opportunity to go for this Baron. You can see Sponge moving over, but still low HP.
Oh, he is very dangerous, though, as far as steals are concerned. Still slowed down by the sapling as Faker wanting to get him out of this pit. And his setup does have the extra movement speed as well. They do have the scuttle control, and Nature's Grasp says that there is no way they're stopping this Baron from going down. So T1, give them an inch and they will take a Baron every single time. That's just how it goes. Gumushi completes his Infinity Edge as well. Item number 2. Rush that one, and we're going to see this one more time. It looked like Teddy was in massive amounts of trouble, but does manage to trade it back very well. And then things start going horribly wrong.
Yeah, this is unfortunately just some of the difference, because if that charm lands on Aguma, I think this fight goes completely differently. But him flashing out, getting an opportunity to turn it around, dealing the DPS. And the thing is, this Ahri goes for the charm, but no one's there to follow up. And the TF gets so much value in just limiting the Ahri's effectiveness. Every time we've seen Yehu try and step up, it's like the threat is just there that Zeus will run at you, auto you, and then also stun card you.
Yeah. And the threat of this spell card has just been a bit silly. We've seen so many Twisted Fate bans over the last couple of weeks, even after the recent nerfs on this particular patch. Just wasn't enough. We kind of thought that maybe Twisted Fate was kind of done, but as it turns out, and from what we've seen, especially from Zeus in the last couple of games, Champion is still ridiculously powerful, as Mega Cone going to deliver carrier Gumushi towards this bottom lane. Zeus was pressuring the top lane. Rascal now up there by himself as Sponge and Teddy trying to convince Owner to leave the junk. Oh my god, his damage onto Teddy is getting a little bit silly. He's going to have to try and cull to stop them from doing any more damage to this inner turret, as Owner suffers at least 2/3 of his health bar as all the connection of the moonshot.
Yeah, Faker actually going to Clips first rather than the Malignant we typically see.
Oh, kind of nutty is. Okay, Zeus just going to avoid the charm and just wanders his way out. He's so incredibly fast. The Infernal Chains do not activate, and they finally... Oh, never mind. Okay, there it is. The third Q going to come on through. It took 4 people, not the 3 they initially invested, as now Rascal could be in trouble. Good Bramble Smash, but there's the crash down onto Owner as well. Still, Moonlight... Sorry, the Moonshot... What's the Moonlight Vigil? That's the one.
Moonlight Vigil.
The big old ultimate from Gumushi did a fair bit of work. And T1 able to at least convince them to leave. Still, it is an advantage for DRX. They get rid of Zeus.
Yeah, but it just feels kind of crazy how much had to be invested for him to finally go down. The value on that Ghost, pretty massive in that situation. Able to dodge, dip, dive, duck, you know, with the...
I think he could dodge a wrench.
I definitely think he could dodge a wrench. And as a result, I assume that he could also dodge a bull.
Yeah, I would think so. And unfortunately, we're never going to know because none of these champions throw balls.
Yeah, unfortunately, he couldn't dodge.
And there are a lot of ball-throwing champions, like Ziggs and Orianna and Syndra.
Yeah, I think...
Yep, cover me, cover me, cover me, is what he's saying.
The problem was, he couldn't dodge a flash.
Yeah. And Aatrox no flash, don't worry guys.
Yep, weird.
Just making sure that he lets everyone know that it wasn't because of any sort of misplay, it was because flash. And that is a broken ability. Wildcard's going to be avoided. And we can check in on the damage dealt. Zeus at the top of the table. And this time around, Teddy's second. So some redemption for our boy Teddy. This gold card can be collected on the way past
actually,
there from Sponge.
Terry is the one who has redemption.
Oh, sorry, yes. He's also got a bell.
Yep. All bells and whistles put together. And you see DRX, I mean, the fact they got that dragon earlier kind of takes away the pressure of wanted to secure all these dragons. They'll just lean top instead, look to take a tower. The problem is, I don't think the game necessarily gets better for them as it goes on. So sure, you know, by taking a dragon, you extend the game, you extend the soul timer, but do you really want to be fighting for soul at 35, 40 minutes against the T1 comp?
Probably not, but I also still think that DRX, if they get into a 5v5 scenario, this composition does have legs, right? Like, you are actually able to always fight with a rel comp like this.
It is Xayah-less, so we're okay.
Yeah, and there is no Xayah. So it is, there are definite positives. 3 items are now done for Teddy as well. Infinity Edge, Rapid Fire Cannon, and the Static Shiv, so he is very powerful. We saw that when Gumushi hit that spike in the last game, it was devastating. We'll see whether Teddy can emulate that in this game as well as we tick over 25 minutes. The end game almost upon us as the mid game is drawing to a close. Next Baron going to be up in 1 minute and 20 seconds. T1 wanting their second of the game. We'll see whether DRX can get themselves some vision in the area. Already you can see that control ward getting pinged out by T1 towards the top side of the map. I think Faker will be able to deal with that. I think they will be able to make things very dark.
The hardest thing when you're playing against a TF is that for a composition like DRX's, you imagine like the Aatrox or the Ahri playing on a flank being so powerful, but all you have to do is plant Zeus covering the flanks. If he doesn't have vision, he can ult and just zone.
Yeah.
And suddenly it becomes impossible to really find those angles. So on top of that, you have the saplings as well. It really is difficult. Sponge is looking for an angle here, but as long as T1 play towards this Baron side, not really much that can be done.
Yeah, well, Twisted Fate towards the bottom side of the map for now, as Gumushi does sacrifice his shield for Teddy. And that's not the barrier shield, that's just the shield from Carrier.
Yeah.
That's the value of Chemtech, Drake. Just one.
Yeah, that's the difference maker.
Yeah, that was it. And you would know better than most, Orcs, because you are the whisperer of the Chemtech. In what could have been your final game of the regular season on the commentary desk, you leave us with this glorious soul.
It has
to
be.
See all of its value.
Yep. All the shielding and healing.
Oh, and the tenacity. Everyone's so tenacious this game.
Yep, there's a lot of tenacious value here.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Faker might have Malignance, and he does have level 16. Yep, okay, well...
And a package, if he would like it. Just
Are
gonna
they
hold
gonna...
off. Yeah, there we go.
You know, typically teams sync it with the Dragon every time, but I think they've kind of realized that DRX just will opt out of contesting Chemtech Dragons. So they're like, okay, instead,
Baron.
we're going to do the T1 special and just start a Baron.
And you can just deliver them a package if they do decide to come on over. Much easier than going to their house, you know?
Okay, with a little hop, skip, and a jump, Sponge can make it from there to the Baron with Flash and his W. But Carrier's looking.
Yeah, they do have control vision in this area. Sponge finds himself a decent shattering strike. There's the package out from Faker. That is going to block them off entirely, and Sponge is thrown around like a ragdoll. There's the Moonlight Vigil. That's going to connect onto him as the Baron. Oh, that's going to be the cue to follow it up. As now Teddy looking for Faker here. He finds him, but I don't know whether he really wants to, as the Rockets not going to find the mark. Good sidestep there from Teddy as Destiny comes through just for the extra vision. The Mega Blast Cone gets them all the way away from this Baron. And Zeus, he turns up. That is going to be a gold card from 1,000,000 miles away and a couple of screens. He is going to just transition into picking up the kill onto both of the damage dealers of DRX. I guess Rascal is going to be there, but he is not actually there. And T1 just going to push towards this inhibitor turret in the mid lane. I felt like that play was going to work, but I didn't know it was going to work that well, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I saw the angle from Sponge. I love that they tried to turn it into a fight instead of just going for the immediate play, but it was just so hard for them to find an avenue there.
Well, Faker raining down these rockets here as Pleta going to have to get out of there. Does flash. And DRX just, if they just stand here and take these rockets, it is just going to be really difficult to defend this. And the first Nexus turret is going to go down. One siege minion remains, so they're not actually able to stand in range of the Nexus turret there. So teleport is going to come through from a flank here, as Yahoo wants to find an opportunity. Should be able to wrap around, but I don't know what he can do as a lone Ahri, as the rocket is going to connect, so not even able to come in at full health. So he's just supervising them.
Oh.
Okay, Teddy's going to try his hand. Okay, and Tidal Wave is beautiful, but doesn't really do anything at all. DRX now just looking for Soul Point. If they can possibly get it. Zeus is going to say, no, you're not allowed to have that, as the charm goes entirely wide, and Zeus just does so much damage. There is the twisted advance forward from Ona, and Redemption going to come on through as well. Faker collects the kill onto the Nami that was delivered, and Sponge going to jump over his own base gate. Zeus just, as soon as he has that gold card above his head, he is so incredibly scary. And there it is. Stun going to come down onto Sponge, but wildcards do not connect. Not that they really do all that much damage anyway. 4 items Twisted Fate is pretty silly.
Yeah, he has Infinity Edge as well, so he, you know if you take a lot of autos from him, he'll hit, but he just chunks now.
Yeah, well, there's a Magnet Storm trying to do something here, but Ona not too worried about it, as we can see, and Sponge is just going to be taken down pretty unceremoniously. Zeus now looking for Rascal here as well, as he's tanking up the turret. And the Nexus is just going to go down. T1 with a very comfortable 2-0 to move them towards playoffs here.